Hello, everyone. My name is Every Yates.
My name is David Todd.
My name is Alex Reckner.
So today, Everett and I had the idea to reach out to our friend Alex and give him an opportunity to kind of walk us and y'all through his. Would you agree that your experience was unique, to say the least?
Yeah, I'd probably say it was. Not many people go off from a small town to the big city and, go to acting school. Most people don't really do that.
I'll say so. Give him a chance to tell us and y'all his unique experience coming from the same school we did, coming from a private boarding school, going to New York, coming back, and then really shifting gears back to more of a small school feel with his college, and then he'll tell us, a little bit where he's trying to head in the future. Sound good, Alex?
Sounds all right by me. Okay, so where do you want me to begin? Just picking up towards the end of high school, going off to college,
Well,
or
first there were the dinosaurs, but
okay,
they
well
all
that's
died.
that's a little
So
far
yeah.
back. There's a couple billion years of history ever.
So what we did in our previous conversation, Ever and I did, we started in high school, gave a little
hmm
bit of background of what we were looking into at the time, what we were interested in, and then just step by step your thought process and how you move. So just pick. It's your experience. You create the timeline.
I'll start off senior year, and we'll just go up from there. So my first piece of advice is do not be an underachiever because that's what I was in high school. I didn't care if I had grades. I cared that I attended school. I didn't have a truancy problem, I can tell you that much. But by God, I had an academic problem. I graduated with a 2.8 GPA, and you can imagine all the doors that didn't open for me.
only a 2.8. I
I was
expect you
quite,
at least be a 2.9.
I was quite proud of my 2.8. I fought hard from it. I brought it all the way up from a 2.77.
I don't even remember mine.
Well, that's your problem,
It's
Everett.
probably for the best.
It's
Yeah,
probably for
maybe.
everyone's best. But I managed to pull out a 2.8 GPA, and I had no real aspirations of going to a real university. I didn't want to go through another English course. I didn't want to go through another science course or math course. I was pretty much done with traditional education, and I figured, hey, I'll just go off to acting school. I had acted throughout most of high school and middle school, and senior year, I was in the main role of the spring, or was it winter? It was winter musical.
Mm.
And that was well received. And using that kind of momentum, I put myself out at this thing called the Southeastern Theater Conference, also called SCTC,
Mm-hmm.
at which point I auditioned in front of pretty much like every major school in the South, plus a couple schools in New York City. And I got several dozen like people saying that they wanted me to go to their school, but most of them were like University of South Carolina, um, University of Georgia, I think, University of Colorado, and a couple other places. But
These were basically recruiters?
yes, they were basically out recruiting people for their theater program. Now, the issue I had with most of these people were like, why is your GPA so low? And so I had to tell them that
uh,
I said, well, I made mistakes when I was younger and I was unable to come up from those. And they were like, oh, well, that's a thing. And I said, yeah, yeah, it
that's
is.
a thing. Yeah, it
So
sucks.
most of the schools were like, we require a 2.81. Not really, though. It was more like 2.9 or 3 or higher. If it was a 2.81, I would have just shot myself in the face. But
Wouldn't we all?
yeah,
Yeah.
but I go through and there's this one and it's called the New York Conservatory for Dramatic Arts, and it has this really fancy ass name.
Mm-hmm.
So I go there and I meet with a recruiter, and he's like, "Why is your GPA so low?" And I was like, "Well, I made a lot of mistakes when I was younger." And he's like, "No, that's not a problem." And I go, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, we all make mistakes when we're kids. I don't hold you to it, but how are you doing right now?" And I was like, well, after having to retake algebra twice, I currently have a B, so I'm doing okay in that. And he's like, all right, well, you can come up to New York in May and audition for us. So May comes around. Actually, no, I think it was March because it was March and it was in Atlanta. I went to visit in May. I went to audition March in Atlanta because it was the same time that they had the the little marathon in downtown Atlanta, where they would
Mm-hmm.
close off the city.
Yeah.
Because the building I was meeting them in was like right in the middle of the route. So we had to like park and like walk a half a mile to get there.
Yeah.
But I auditioned. I worked on these couple pieces, and one of the pieces was one that I actually used for our talent show at school called MadFest for Music Arts and Drama Dance Fest, which also conveniently happens the same initials with Mothers Against Drunk Driving. But
Ha.
ha, I know. But I used that piece, and they were like, "Hey, that was actually pretty good. We're actually glad that we chose you. So what we're going to do is we're going to make you an offer, and you can come up to New York when school's over, and you can tour the school and let us know." So beginning of May, before we went to Disney World and before graduation, I went up there, spent a few days with my mother, and toured the school, and realized that it was like in an office building. Like the building, the the first and second floor of this building was this school, and then like the 15th floor was also the school, but then
Yeah.
like the third to the fifth floor was some art design place, and there was all these other businesses, and I was like, okay, well this is the lush campus that I'm used to, but hey, this is New York. So I go through and I tell them, hey, I think I actually will enjoy this. And they're like, well, what makes you say that? Is it the fact you want to take English? And I was like, if only you knew. So I accepted and I went and I moved into the dorms on beginning of August. And I was partnered conveniently with a guy named David, who I had nothing in common with. That was fun.
So with all of that in mind, I think it's worth, I mean, you can't really preface it now, but coming from our school, and I'm sure all of y'all can agree that it was like a 99.9% college placement rate, and the majority of the people in our class were very high achievers, trying to shoot for the stars. They were trying to go to those Ivy League schools. So your approach was definitely a departure from that, to say the least.
That is saying the bare minimum, actually. Because Fola Sofola, who Sofela was it? She went to the University of Harvard, while I went to the New York Conservatory for Dramatic Arts. Granted, we went for different things, but my point stands. While I'm up in New York, I go through and I realize that here, grades are kind of irrelevant. They don't matter. What matters is if you have talent or not. Of
You get
course, the teachers.
unicorns and sunshines and stuff like that, stickers.
I mean, they were still grades. I graduated with a 3.42, I think.
Hot damn.
I know I did pretty good coming from a 2.8, but it wasn't like anything grueling. There was one class that I had to write one essay in to meet the state requirement for being a university. Like that's not even a joke. It was like, you have to write a paper about film through the ages. And I
Cliche.
was like,
Super
that's
cliche.
cool. So I did that, and I finished my first year and was accepted to the second year. Now, the way they do their school is they have two routes. You can either do film and television, or you can do what is called a theater year. And the theater year is where you just solely do things for working on a stage. And at the end of the year, and I also think maybe in the middle, you do a performance. You do any kind of play you want.
Hmm.
But this isn't, your regular run-of-the-mill Midsummer's Night Dream or anything. These are plays that handful of people have heard, or they're off Broadway plays or something of that nature. Or in the rare event, they're student written. But I chose not to do that because even though my only exposure to acting had been through being on stage, I just couldn't imagine myself going out every single night and acting.
Mm.
It just would have worn me down. So I went with a film and television year, and I had a decent time with that. I wouldn't say I had an okay time with that. It kind of it challenged me, but I think it challenged me in a way that I wasn't ready.
Mm.
I
Mm.
One, what?
I was just gonna say, in which way? I was just wondering.
In the way that um, I think it's because I had come from such a small area, and I don't want to say people were always telling me that I was great because I think I was told that I did a good job like 3 times in my entire life up to that point. But coming from a small area like Raven Gap, where I had been the lead actor in the spring musical, and that musical went on to the Schuler Hensley Award and won a couple awards, I think. I didn't win any, obviously, but it went on to um, our theater director, Bill Patty, actually won Best Director and Best Musical, I think, 2 years later. So obviously we were doing something right. But coming from such a small environment, I guess I thought higher of myself. I didn't think that, oh, I'm better than everyone here. All these people are beneath me in this acting group. My classmates are just fools. No, it was more like, I got this. I can do this. And if I get rejected, I'll be completely fine with it. Well, one of the things they have you do is they have you work your film and TV year towards auditioning in front of actual casting directors and actual agents. And it's not like, oh, we're going to dress up one of the janitors and pass them off as a casting agent. No, this is like people that, you're going to meet like 2 years from now. So I go and I perform my piece and I felt good about it. But when I got my review back, they told me that I should not have gone to school, that I was just awful.
You
Yeah, they told
serious?
Wow.
I'm dead serious. They were telling me about how I was completely unprepared, how I put forth no raw emotion, about how the monologue I chose was completely wrong for me, which is ironic because I didn't even choose it. Um, and I just took that so heavy. It just crushed any drive I had. I had been fighting for a long time with emotion because I've always been good at faking it. But I
Mm.
wanted to try to just draw from real emotion, draw from real experiences. And I was having such a difficult time doing that. So anytime I was needed to like try to cry in class, I'm like poking myself in the eye and pouring Vaseline in my eye to try and cry, but I can't get anything going. I can't make real tears. I can't draw forth real emotion. The only raw emotion I can draw is anger, and that's just, what kind of person can't get
Jeez,
angry?
that's a little
And
bleak,
also for
don't you
me,
think?
yeah, I mean, and also that's, well, I mean, it's true. It's true. Like that was the entire thing. Like anytime we needed someone to be angry, we go to Alex and he just throws things at the wall and gets upset. But I wound up graduating, and yeah, I was still hurt, but I was wanting to put myself out there. So I did what most
Mm.
people do when I got a job, working in a coffee shop, because I lived in Florida for a summer and I worked in a coffee shop down there and I enjoyed it. And
That's right.
yeah, it was it was the weird summer that I lived with my mother down in Florida after she left Raven County, which I still don't understand why she did that. But um, I went down there. I worked in a coffee shop, learned how to make coffee. So I was like, hey, I'm just going to do that in New York. There's coffee shops everywhere. So I was working in a coffee shop and still going out for auditions. And had this kind of this feeling that it wasn't going to last.
Mm.
I had taken a class while I was in school, and it was called voiceover work. And voiceover work is just, the kind of people that do commercials, they do ad bumps, they do character work, all the things that you hear that isn't attached to a face.
Mm.
And that just really appealed to me because I could use my voice. I could use my, even though I grew up in the most rural of places, I could show off the fact that I had no Southern accent at all. I could show off the different styles I could do. I could show off my characteristics. But what I enjoyed most is that they didn't know that I was faking my emotion. I wouldn't be called out for it. I could try and, draw on real experiences till hell froze over, but I can fake anything in a heartbeat. And this was the ultimate chance because no one would be like, hey, we can tell by the way your eyes are that you're faking it. Your eyebrows aren't intense enough. And those were common criticisms that I heard when I was trying to act, was that I wasn't as,
Animated.
yeah, that I was faking my animation. I was moving my eyebrows too much to compensate for the fact that as incredibly monotonous and stoic as I am, I don't really move my face that much when I speak. So this allowed me the chance to be just wildly animated. But I wasn't getting anything. I was working all day. During my lunch break, I would go and audition and then come back to work, and I go home. My roommate was awful. He would just never do anything around the apartment. He never went out and did anything, just sat around all day. And it kind of wore me down. I wound up coming to visit my mother for what was supposed to be a week in August and wound up being for the entire month because I was just completely and utterly depressed. I did not want to go back to New York. I did not want to go back to that life. I didn't want to put myself through the struggle of going and trying to audition and trying to make money and trying to support myself. And I just felt like a total failure for everything.
I mean, that's basically a grind with zero safety net. You're in a strange place. You don't have a group of people who, I mean, you could say like your family or close friends or something. You don't have those people to help you through that. You're going through the motions each day trying to grind that out, and it got to you at that point.
Yeah, pretty much. It had been wearing me down, and I think it was nice to have someone to open myself to, was my mother, about this, because I just been bearing this down because I didn't want to come across as, oh, I let New York beat me down. I the boy from small town Hickville was swallowed up and spat out on the curb and stomped to the ground, because they say in New York, don't fall because no one's going to catch you, and that's very, very true.
Damn.
I had planned on going to school after I realized I was completely dissatisfied with the associates in occupational studies that I got. I realized that I wanted to go to school, but I didn't really know what for. So I started looking at schools in New York, and it was just way, way too expensive. And my mother had already taken on a Parent Plus loan, so she already had a hefty amount of debt, and I was starting to accrue debt myself. So I didn't really want to get 30,000 a semester just to go to school in New York. So I found out that even though I'd left the state of Georgia because I spent the majority of my life and graduated from high school in Georgia, I was able to get get
Hope.
in-state tuition. Well,
Right.
not just hope, but get in-state tuition. So instead of going to where I currently attend, the University of Georgia, granted it's only for like 4 more days. Granted, instead of going for 10,000 a semester, I only went for 2. So that was a big incentive to me. So I went back to New York. I boxed up all my personal belongings. I grabbed all my clothes, put them in as many bags as I could, and I left. I broke my lease. I left my roommate. I told him, I hate to do this, but you're on your own. I got to take care of me. And I haven't spoken to him since. But I made the choice that I feel was the right one for me because I just couldn't see myself waking up there, you know, another day. It just would have gotten to me at some point.
Well, we can jump back into the timeline, but before you get, kind of off when you break off in that new path of new school and everything,
Hmm.
if you, what would be, a couple things that you would tell somebody who would be in similar shoes in, their senior year of high school? They're in theater programs, they're artistic, they like that sort of stuff, and they really don't know what they want to do. What would you tell somebody looking back?
Okay. Do not, under any circumstances, go to the New York Conservatory for Dramatic Arts. It is a scam. Okay.
Understood.
I'm saying this as someone that went. It is a scam. My mother was $56,000 in debt for 2 years of school because of this, and I was $10,000, so in total $67,000 in debt for going to the school to get a degree that is virtually usable nowhere. It is accredited by theater schools. It is not accredited by
Mm.
any academic institution. So granted, the like University of Georgia is accredited by the same theatrical accreditation system. It's not accredited by a national district. The districts I think are broken up into like the Northeast, the Southeast, the Midwest, the Northwest, and the Southwest, I think is how it's broken up. But it has to be accredited from one of those districts in order to be transferable. And since mine is not, I just have a $56,000 piece of paper sitting in my closet, and it's usable nowhere. So even though, you may not want to do math, you may not want to take biology, the concept of calculus may be shocking to you, just do it. Everyone does it. Everyone that goes through college has to do it. Like if you're going to be a fine arts major, if you want your BFA, then you're going to have to recognize that college isn't just going to be, oh, I'm going to take nothing but theater classes. I'm going to take nothing but working on voice. I'm going to take nothing but dance. No, you have to take these classes. And that's the beauty of it. You're not just going to have to take like remedial English. You're not going to have to take just British literature. You can take whatever you want. I took film and literature. I watched movies and talked about it. That was basically my entire 2 years in New York, was watching movies and talking about it. So I had that down. Like that exists. That option exists for people, and you can do that.
Would you say like are you saying like for those that want to pursue like theater or something to I mean, are you saying like go for that kind of degree or
I'm saying if theater is your passion, if that's what you really want, like you don't care about, oh, well, I mean, I'll take that back. If you care about acting as a whole, just the joy that you draw from acting, then go to a school that will foster that and help you develop your craft. Do not go to a place that's going to just take your money, teach you what you could read in a book, and then put you out in the world with nothing to show for it. Because
right.
that's what happened to me.
What is there a way to like get into that and to get into acting and stuff without the degree? Like if someone wants to be a professional actor,
Well, obviously, you don't have to go to college for it. Like that's I feel is the one thing that is crippling our generation is this notion that we have to go to college. Not everyone has to go to college. And that's
right.
kind of a thing that people don't like to hear because it's been so ingrained in us for the
Yeah.
past 40 years that, you graduate from high school, you go to college, you get out of college, you get a job. And then after you get a job, you get a house. And then once you have your house, you can marry your significant other, and then you get a mortgage, and then you work 50 years and die. Like that was the mantra for ever.
Yeah,
And
right.
now we're in a society where it's not.
Things are different. Yeah, it's a different
we're
time.
we're at a point now where like trade schools are so under
I mean,
the
they're back
enrollment
in.
is, well, they're actually not. The enrollment is down significantly. It's 17% down from how it was last year. I was
Really?
listening to a show on NPR about it, and they're talking about how those jobs are now being filled by women because millennial guys don't want to take them.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, I can see that. I can see that flow of thought.
Everybody wants to go and work in a corporation, or they want to do a startup, or they want to do this, that, or the other. They don't want to be a carpenter. They don't want to fix toilets. Granted, nobody really wants to fix a toilet. Like, who wants to do that, man? But until we build a robot that could do it, somebody has to do it. And that gallant person who puts it on their shoulders to scramp and scavenge through sewage to fix a toilet, God love them.
Hey, man, they make some. I mean, I'm just speaking from experience because my dad is a plumber, or was, but they can make good money. You know what I mean? It's
Oh
you know, and
yeah.
it's
Oh yeah.
plumbing
Yeah,
in
I'm
gen.
not. I'm not knocking plumbers at all. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I couldn't see myself doing it, and it's not because
Oh
I view it
yeah.
as beneath
Uh,
me.
no, I
I view it
totally.
as just
I
from
don't.
like a grind perspective. Ugh.
Yeah, it is. It's. I mean, any job is tough, but for
Like
sure. I mean,
like
blue collar work.
cleaning my toilet is big enough an issue for me as is. Like I don't have to actually work on the damn thing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I yeah. So
What?
that's crazy. That I didn't real. I thought more people were going. Trade schools were kind of back in.
Not necessarily. They're more as like technical based art and but your general going and getting like your degree in like well not really a degree, but being a certified
Yeah,
carpenter, being a certified contractor,
electrician or
like
something.
those jobs are disappearing.
Really?
So yeah, like because most of those jobs were filled by men who were baby boomers, middle-aged men. So now we're just at a point where those men are retiring and there's no one left to fill them except for women because women are just I mean I'm not going to really speak to the issue because I'm not that well versed on it, but it just seems to be becoming an awareness that someone has to do the job. And also like trucking, there's a lot more women in trucking because it's completely there's no wage difference. You're paid by the mile. Like it's not like, oh, you're going to start out making 16,000 a year. No. It's however many miles you drive is how much you get paid.
Hmm.
And like, I don't think there's a big gender difference in how a car moves forward. So,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, definitely, I would say, for degrees and stuff, the biggest places are anything in STEM.
Mm-hmm.
That's where all the jobs are.
Right.
That's
That's where all
the
the
money
jobs
is.
are, and that's where the lowest amount of women are in the work field is in STEM careers.
Yeah. That's I'm same. I'm not well versed in this, so this is. I wouldn't say that I'm surprised, but I'm saying like, wow, that's
You can see they're making efforts right now to try and get girls more to eliminate that stigma early on, to get girls in STEM programs in middle school and high school, and to just basically say, look, the the biggest reason there is a lack of females in this industry is because of stigmas.
Yeah.
It's not going to be you're not going to get hired because you're a woman. It's because the women aren't there pursuing those careers, whether that's their family telling them not to or they should be, or peer pressures pushing them into more traditional woman roles, teaching, nursing, stuff like that. They have the resources out there to grab those careers and make them incredible. They have groups dedicated to that sort of stuff. And you can see it's trending to be more equal, and it will get there over time, but I think it's going to be a considerable amount of time before. And that also applies to to the C-suite level positions in businesses, is that I think a lot of the time women, when they'll come into the workforce, they might get stuck, whether that be because of their management or their own drive, is they get stuck either at the entry level or in administrative jobs and don't try to pursue the route that can put them in the C-suite. You see that changing over time. I mean, you see more and more women are in the C-suite now than ever before. But I mean, I know it's relatively off topic, but my really the reason I got thinking about that is because when you made the comment of STEM is where all the jobs are, that's where people are hiring for sure. But when you look at mechanical engineering and civil engineering, those jobs were in very, very high demand, I would say, 10 years ago. And then you had a lot of people went to Georgia Tech and other very highly acclaimed engineering schools, and they started just pumping out little clones of each other. The same people going with the same degrees, and they got extremely saturated with people, and they were trying to find their own. They had to find different jobs that weren't necessarily geared towards engineering. And I think a lot of people weren't prepared for that. They weren't well-rounded. They weren't educated in different things, trained in different things, and they didn't think that way. It boiled down to they were not considering having to get a job in a different field. And I think I have been relatively blessed in that I had a very open mind going forward, and I think a lot of that comes from not knowing which path I wanted to take. And I knew that I needed to be open-minded and be as experienced in as many things as I could so that I could land wherever. And I think that's an important thing to push people towards now. End of rant.
No, you definitely bring up a point, especially there at the end about being open-minded. I think, that's the thing to keep in mind, especially with going through in life, is, 90 years may seem like a long time for an average lifespan, but it's really not. And you don't want to waste your time doing something you don't enjoy. Life is too short to not enjoy what you're doing. You shouldn't have to confine yourself just to one thing. You should find what you love and let it just, I don't want to say become you, because I don't want to say do whatever it is you love, make that your job. That's that parachute thing that doesn't really work out in real life, because according to it, I should be a fantastic criminal by now, but see what's happening. But the idea that you can separate having a job that you are content with. You don't have to be happy with it. You have to walk in every day having sunshine and unicorns running around. But if you're content with your job, if you're content with the people you associate with on a daily basis, if you're content with the work itself, if you're content with that, then that leaves the possibility to be able to pursue what it is in life you enjoy. End of mini rant, I guess.
I think my add-on to that is money doesn't always buy happiness, but money can buy freedom to find that happiness.
Right. Happiness may be going and traveling, but money will provide the ability to have that happiness. Just because you have money doesn't necessarily guarantee you're going to be happy. Like, everyone can think of, at least something they could buy with $5 million, but really,
Oh yeah.
Really, what are you going to do with $5 million, man? You don't need $5 million to be happy. You need enough money to survive and enough money to pursue, just have a pursuit of happiness is all. Whatever that happiness is. If it's playing music, then having enough money to buy some nice instrument that is something you've always admired, whether it's a piano, guitar, etc., etc.
A Taylor 814 CE would be extremely welcomed in my family.
Okay, calm down, David. I'm not speaking to you. I'm speaking to the. Calm down. But whatever it is that you enjoy, having I don't want to say a normal job, but a job that you could see yourself doing and not being miserable at, that is something to pursue, because it leaves you able to pursue other things in life.
Yeah.
The things that really matter in life.
Yeah. Yeah, I can speak on that. I've jumped around a lot in college, and even after college, I made a bit of a jump. Here I was thinking I was going to go into accounting, and then I was like, maybe not. So, but I knew, I was like, all right, well, now's the time to do it, and I did. I just made that jump, and I haven't looked back. So, and I'm way happier. I feel like I'm heading in the right direction now. But yeah, would I say, am I following my passion? I guess.
You got to figure out what your passion is. Things change.
I battle with the whole "what's your passion" type of spiel, because I think it gets overplayed, and frankly, I get quite annoyed at it. What's your passion? It's like, I don't know. I don't think anyone really knows. Hell, I talk to like 30-year-old, 50-year-olds, whatever, everyone's just like, yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I think, you know, get a hobby, stick with that. That, whether it be playing music or doing voice acting or whatever, get your hobby, enjoy that. That in this day and age too, any hobby that you get into and the better you get at it and you have a skill, the better you get at it. I mean, in this day and age, in this market, people would be willing to pay for it.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
you got all kinds of different professionals out there. You know what I mean? So, and I
So,
say professional as in it's just a person that does their craft or their job and gets paid
mm,
for it.
so after all of that, hearing our discussion, a good bit of Alex's story, and I know I already asked you a little bit about what you would tell somebody in their shoes, but now that you're in your position, where do you think, in a really summarized, condensed form, what are you going to do now, and where do you think you're going to be in 2 to 3 years, once you graduate and all that stuff?
Oh, that's a hard
And
question.
it's a tough, so take your time. I mean, I'm not trying to push you with anything, but just whatever's on your mind right now, because like
What do
we
you want to
said
do with
earlier,
your
that's
life?
Um, See, here's the thing. I have no idea what I want to do with my life. And I think I think I think it's okay because I don't think you need to have your life figured out at 23. I think
No one
that's just a
does.
thing. I think that's a stigma that's just been carried on for years now that needs to. Like most people our age are in college and usually they work some kind of either retail or food service job, but they have some some degree they're pursuing that they hope will turn into a career that they can enjoy. I don't know what that is for me. I mentioned earlier about how the one class I enjoyed was voiceover. Well, I recently just spoke with an agent, and I sent her some like it's called a demo reel, which is just me speaking and showing off a couple accents I do and voices and
mm,
whatnot. And I sent that to her, and I have an audition scheduled with her in the next few weeks. So that's something that I've always wanted, or rather, I've wanted since I did it in New York, and now I'm pursuing it. But I'm still going to school, and I'm still pursuing a bachelor's of psychology and philosophy. But those are because they interest me. My personal life philosophy is that um, like life should be enjoyed, which I mentioned earlier. Life should always be enjoyed. It doesn't have to be through your job. It has to be through something that you're passionate for. And I'm not going to say I enjoy speaking, but I, I,
I
I,
enjoy talking.
I, I enjoy, the little voices I do when we play games together. I enjoy um, the jokes I make when we talk and hang out. And being able to have an outlet for that, which also will pay me, is very, very nice. So find something that you can do. And if it makes you money, it makes you money. But if you want to pursue a job, then pursue something you can see yourself doing. I've been struggling with what to possibly do with a bachelor's in psychology and a bachelor's in philosophy. And I've been thinking about going and becoming a professor. And that's because, again, I don't want to say I like talking, but I do enjoy um, I do enjoy discussing things that I'm interested in. And ideally, if I'm teaching a class, um, the people that are in that class would be as passionate, if not more passionate than I am in what I'm discussing. So it would be rather than me just being like in 1837, Frederick Nietzsche was born. It would be more than that. It would have a discussion about, and also I don't actually know if that's when Nietzsche was born. I'm just quoting here, but it would be more than that. It would be an actual discussion, the importance of it, which is what should occur in the classroom. But it isn't always what occurs. Usually especially with history, that's the one thing I know. Always the brute force memorization of dates. You need to know that in 1066, William the Conqueror was killed during the siege of Normandy, or rather the siege by the Normans in England, which led to the creation of the United Kingdom. Fun fact. But you have that kind of classroom situation, and that's what I was fearful of, and I didn't want to go to that because I was so beat down by it through Raymond Gap. So I would want to have an environment that was more casual, and I have found that my philosophy courses especially are like that. Any course work that we have is just reading, and reading is difficult if you're illiterate, but this is nothing.
Oh, shocker.
I mean, I'm just stating a fact, man. Like people, they're like, "Oh, I hate reading. Reading's stupid." Well, that's probably because you're illiterate. There you go. Like, granted, you don't have to always read Shakespeare. There are other things to read. You could read a magazine for Christ's sake. No one's gonna judge you. But it
I
just
don't know
seemed
about
to.
that, but
Well, I mean, like if you're reading National Enquirer and it's about Bat Boy or something, I might think less of you. But I don't care if you read People magazine. I don't care. You do you. It's what makes you happy. If conspiracy theory about how Donald Trump is a Russian sleeper agent is what gets you going, then more power to you. Okay? You take your National Enquirer, you get your tinfoil hat, you get on the subway, you let everyone know the good word. You do you.
Can
You do you.
can you get out of my head, please? That's hitting a little too close to home.
I'm sorry that I'm speaking directly to you. I'm sorry. But no, but again, this is the thing that I think is the experience I got from New York is just to be happy with what you're doing. You should be content with your job, but you should be happy with your life because your life is infinitely more important and infinitely more valuable than a job. If
Oh,
your
yeah.
job if your job stresses you to the point that you are having to seek therapy and medication because of how stressful your job is, maybe you should take some time off from your job. I don't know. I'm just suggesting that. Your health should never come at the cost of your job, nor should your family, nor should your friends. Your life is your own life. No one else lives it. Okay? Everyone else is, for lack of a better analogy, everyone else is an NPC in the game of your life. Everyone else is a non-playable character. Like, sure, there's the few people that are like your allies and whatnot, but for the majority of it, everyone else couldn't care less that you exist. So instead of wasting time and effort being concerned about that, focus on what matters to you. If what matters to you is, being able to spend time with your family on the weekend, then make the time, make the effort, go forth and do. Don't just be thinking, "Hey kids, I'm sorry that we can't do this. We'll do it some other time." And then that other time never comes. You don't, also we're kind of at a point where none of us have kids, so it's not really an issue, but you get what I'm saying.
That's what you think.
David, if you had a child that I didn't know about,
What?
if you had a child that I didn't know about, I would be insulted that you hadn't told me this far. This far into the friendship, and you hadn't told me that you managed to get someone pregnant, I would be hurt.
I never said that I knew if I had one either. Surprise.
Oh my God.
Wait, what?
Just stop. David is saying that he has risky anonymous sex with people, is what he's trying to infer.
See,
So
Alex is always there to clarify things for me.
There's probably another little David Todd running around somewhere that looks just like him and his father, and the lineage continues.
Well, after all that, I think that's a pretty decent note to end on. What do y'all think?
Yeah.
Give me your parting words and let's wrap it up.
My parting words. I'm going to quote my favorite author, Charles Bukowski, and he had this quote, and it's actually on his tombstone. Find what you love and let it kill you. You should, and that's his quote. And my 2 cents that I'm adding on is what you love should be there with you through it all, through the good times, through the bad times, and then ultimately to death. You should find something to live for. You know, it doesn't have to be a person. You don't have to solely live just because so-and-so is in love with you. You should live because of her. You should live because you want to be with her. You shouldn't live just because she's in your life. You should live because how she makes you feel. That is my message. Just find something you love and enjoy every minute you can with it.
Well, fuck.
Follow that up. Good luck.
Yeah. Actually, mine is. I like soup. My suggestion. I'm not gonna say the same thing as Alex. I think Alex has a point. I think, honestly, the way I see things and have kind of come to terms with is that the world does not give the world doesn't give a shit. It doesn't care about your feelings or anything. Feelings are important, and at the end of the day, yeah, you do you, and you can just say fuck off, whatever. But I would pay attention to what the current market needs, you know what I mean, and then kind of and weigh it from there, really, because again, this is back with my argument, and I don't want to start a whole another thing here because we're wrapping things up.
Come on, parting words.
Yeah, sorry. Just
Parting paraphrase.
go with something that's measurable. Go with something like STEM. Okay, I keep emphasizing that because it's true. People need those high skills. That's what the world needs. If it's job or whatever, go there. That's all right. I'll just wrap up there.
I'll hang out in the middle and kind of combo the two of y'all's thoughts and say, if you're in the position to where you're not sure what you want to do, you know what you're passionate about at the moment, and you're just trying to hone that, craft that, but still make something of yourself, find a way to balance the two and round yourself out as well as you possibly can, so that no matter what life throws at you, if you can't pursue that passion, you still have the experience, the background, and the know-how to hit the ground running in another way. And then ultimately, like I said before, get that money to pursue what you want to do. And then like Alex said, Alex, tell me that quote one more time. That was so good.
Find what you love and let it kill you.
And on that, I'm going to say, it's so good. It's so good. I was like, Alex, I know it got a little deep there for a moment, but we really do appreciate you telling us your story, and
we do.
thank you very much.
Not a problem. Thank you very much.
All right, everybody. Good night.